All right, hey there, Facebook meteorologist Wesley Williams here. What I'm going to do right now is post a link to the story in this video description and in the comments so that people can follow along there. But yes, what you're looking at is Category 5 Major Hurricane Irma, and this thing just pretty much intensified this morning, so we're gonna kind of take a look at the latest information with that. If there is any small amount of good news with this update at all, it's just that it's easy to get nervous and sweat it out because a system like this has intensified in strength, when earlier this morning it had maximum winds of 150 miles per hour, and now it has winds of 175 miles per hour. So there, I've just posted the link to the story in the comments where you can read more about this update for the full update on Irma, in case I don't manage to get to it all here. But again, if you're just joining me, thank you and good morning. Definitely not a good morning, possibly one of the worst mornings ever for those areas in the East Caribbean. There's going to be death, there is going to be devastation when you are facing a Category 5 major hurricane with 175 mile per hour winds. And I'm not really exaggerating, I'm not being dramatic. That's just almost a certainty unless you move people completely off those islands. If there's even one person left, that risk will likely unfold. So I hope that you don't know anyone on those islands. If you do, you need to tell them to get off immediately. You can see that they are under warnings, and we can kind of get a little closer to show you. The red area is under those hurricane warnings. And again, Hurricane Irma looking like a buzzsaw about to just really cut through those areas. Yellow is Hurricane Watch in Guadalupe, Dominica. So perhaps not as severe of a threat for them because they're on the left side of the storm, or I guess, yeah, I mean the storm is moving this way. Let me draw my arrow. Storm is moving this way, so you know, over here would be considered the front of the storm, the back of the storm, and over here would be considered the left side of the storm, and over here would be considered the right side of the storm. So that's why they're in the red under the warning, because the right side of a hurricane always has the worst wind impacts, because that wind is whipping around in a counterclockwise fashion like that. So they're going to get the forward speed of the hurricane at 14 miles an hour on top of the 175 mile per hour winds there in those islands. Now again, this does not, despite this, you know, being kind of a slightly scary change in that the forecast, the system has reached hurricane Category 5 strength, it does not really change our forecast here, almost at all. We knew that Irma was going to be a major hurricane. I knew that Irma was going to continue exceeding expectations. If you've been following my updates, go ahead, check the previous ones that I did yesterday, the day before that. I've always said that Irma is likely going to exceed expectations. The National Hurricane Center giving their kind of more modest intensity forecast. But intensity forecast in this day and age, in this way that this science has advanced so far, hurricane intensity forecasting is really complex, and it's never going to be down to a perfect science based off of today's technology. So I'm not surprised that it reached 175 mile per hour strength. By the way, again, I have said this yesterday, just to kind of squash any kind of, you know, is there a Category 6 or whatever. There is no such thing as a category higher than Category 5 because Category 5 is the highest category. It starts at 157 miles per hour and goes up to infinity. So if hypothetically speaking there were a system somewhere in the world with winds over 800 miles per hour, it's still just a Category 5 storm. I shouldn't say just, but we're not making up categories here. Let's not confuse things. So in any case, let's take a look at the latest forecast, since I'm sure that's what you all want to see. And again, you're not going to see many surprises here because the forecast, like I earlier said, did not really change. I'll go through it a little bit more slowly. So Wednesday, tomorrow, still a Cat 5. Thursday, Still, oh no, we skip Thursday, go to Friday early in the morning, a Category 4. But keep in mind, Category 5 winds, did you just hear what I said? They start at 157 miles per hour. So that's only 2 miles per hour away from Category 5 strength. So they're not expecting much weakening here in regards to Category. And I would not be surprised, again, because Irma always exceeds expectations and almost always seems to be under forecast. So don't be surprised if it's still a Category 5 on Friday. There's very little to get in the way of the intensification of Irma. And Saturday, still a Cat 4, but still only 2 miles per hour away from a Category 5 there. Then by Sunday, they weaken it slightly more, down to 150 miles per hour. But again, that's a really strong Category 4 hurricane, and that is near the southern tip of Florida there. So again, if you know anyone in those areas, that's going to be pretty critical for them. Of course, the state of Florida already declaring that state of emergency there to sort of get rid of the red tape so they can get disaster preparations in order and at the ready. But again, I do want to stress the difference between a cone and a model. So this shape here, that's a cone. You know what a cone looks like an ice cream cone. You've got the ice cream right there, and then the cone part that follows, you know, down here. So that's why this is called a forecast cone, because it's shaped as such. So that is produced by the National Hurricane Center. They are the only, to my knowledge, organization that is run by the government that forecasts hurricanes, and is respected for doing so. So if you see anyone else's forecast out there, as of right now, Tuesday morning, 7:48 in the morning, that goes beyond Sunday, it's not going to have as much accuracy as what you're looking at right here, because these are the experts. They know what they're doing. Now, there are models out there, and the difference between a computer model and a forecast is that a forecast has a lot going on. They take into account history over the many years, takes into account the weather going on right now, all the weather patterns, water temperatures, just all kind of stuff that goes into this cone here. But the models don't always do that. The models are a little bit more random. So when I show you those, they don't have the same weight as this. So that's why people are basing their disaster preparation and their disaster response on this cone here, because this cone has that weight. This cone says, hey, South Florida, you're going to be under a threat here. Most likely, you're in the cone. Get ready. But when we're about to flip over to those forecast models, they don't have the same weight. That's just kind of a look at behind the scenes, and kind of helps you to monitor the trends that might happen beyond the 5-day period. Okay, so enough talking about them. Let's take a look. So again, we saw that forecast ended at Sunday 2 a.m. So let's go to Sunday 2 a.m. So again, we're right about there. I know it says 12, but it's 2 a.m. in there. And if we plop Irma's forecast cone on here briefly to show you, again, I did this yesterday, is that I can't even see it. Oh, there we go, cone. And we'll have to make the spaghetti plot a little less visible. Let's go down to 80. And then finally get the forecast track, get these things out of here, and finally position it on top of those. So there you can see the majority of the models are inside of that forecast cone up to day 5. And again, the forecast cone does not go beyond 5 days from where you are right now. We're here right now on Tuesday morning, so it stops at Sunday morning. But what's the important part about all of this is that the storm is going to take its turn later Sunday into Monday. So that's why the cone doesn't show that turn yet, because we have to wait for the next few forecast cones to come out. We have to wait for the one that comes out Sunday afternoon, the one that comes out Sunday night, and the one that comes out tonight, Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday night, and the one that comes out tomorrow on Wednesday. And I think at that point we are, instead of seeing this cone kind of just looking like it's making kind of a beeline for the Gulf, because that's what it kind of looks like right now. The cone looks like that because we're right here, not quite within 5 days of the forecasted turn by the models. But if we, I bet when we're watching those cones that come out later tonight on Tuesday night or perhaps Wednesday, they're probably going to look, well, let's see. Let's push the models ahead by just one day. Let's go to Monday at 2 a.m. So the next cone is probably going to look like, well, I gotta zoom out so I can draw my arrow one more time, but it's probably going to look like this, where there's going to, I can't even draw because it's not going to go this far, but my tool not letting me draw the arrow that stops there. But I think that's what the forecast cone is going to change to look like when we get to Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. That's how you're supposed to use the models. You use the models to see just maybe 1 or 2 days ahead where you think the cone might go. Again, there is a lot of uncertainty still in the air with this forecast track with Irma, and we put the models, I'm making them a little bit more visible here, and then we go beyond Monday. Let's go to Tuesday morning now. And we see that again, the majority of the models are clustered right there where it kind of made that little turn, to the north there. Yes, I see the red lines crossing across parts of the Florida Panhandle and across parts of Alabama over here and across parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. I see those red lines. But guess what? They're not really the majority of the lines. The majority of the lines are right here, and so that's why I think, based off of this Tuesday morning forecast and the Tuesday morning models, where I think that's where the National Hurricane Center is going to go. Now we'll see what happens when we get new models. Maybe they'll shift west. It all really depends on the timing. A cold front is supposed to pick this system up, and that's what causes this turn. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But again, the bottom line here is that we're going to be keeping an eye on it, and you should not base your disaster preparation decisions and your disaster response decisions on models. I hear a lot of people going out and buying up a bunch of plywood. Somebody told me they were going to buy ice and perishables, and they live in South Mississippi, and it seems like this is not quite the time for that. If you're basing your decisions on a computer model, that may be completely wrong. If you're fine with wasting the money on those resources, or maybe it's not a waste to you, if you have a way that you can get resources that are not expirable or perishable, then you should have already done that on June 1st when hurricane season begins. But if people are going out and buying things that they're not going to need if a hurricane doesn't come here, I hope that you're okay with possibly risking wasting your money on those resources, because at this time the 5-day forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center is not pointed at South Mississippi. I implore you to wait before making those decisions. At least wait until Wednesday morning, when we should see that forecast cone, turning a little bit more to the north there into Florida. So that's what we'll be watching here. But that's why you're not going to see any kind of emergency response people in any of South Mississippi issuing any of those sandbags right now or any of that, because it's not really pointed at us right now with the official government National Hurricane Center forecast cone. So that's pretty much my update here. I wish that I could stay with you a little bit longer, but we are still on television. So be sure to watch WLOX if you want continued live coverage. Will be in the cut-ins between Good Morning America and then later this morning on midday, which occurs at 11 a.m. on WLOX ABC. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if we need to come back to you on live on Facebook, we will. I'll type in the comments when I think my next Facebook Live will be. Thanks for watching, and if you did comment, I'll try to